Good evening, everybody. If you haven't yet, you should really check out my new Patreon page and join, because it's 3 tiers, and the first one's real cheap, and you can help this channel help people and do your part in exposing narcissists while enabling a very abled male witch to do it, who might have pledged a pact to the goddess Lilith to do just that. And by might have, I mean swore a blood oath. But regardless, Patreon page exists now. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. I've noticed in my analytics, only like 20% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed, and bloody hell, that's free. And it helps these videos reach other people that they can potentially help, because while I'm, well, clearly not the biggest channel or the most professional, because it's just me talking to a microphone, I'm one of the realists. This isn't corporate friendly. This is based on, stuff I've learned from my own experiences, helping others, which that list grows, I'm not going to say every day, but every week. And, I have some therapist friends who I've talked to a lot about this stuff, and they say I have a knack for it. And not to mention that INFJ intuition comes in handy too. Molson. Canadian beer's the best. I can't get Alexander Keith's in this country. It's the thing I miss most from when I lived in Canada. But yeah, check out my Patreon page, look into it. I'll put the link in the comment section, or you can, if you want to send a one-time tip to the channel to help it out, links to PayPal and Venmo and Cash App and all that are, in the description of the channel as well. I appreciate it. It is that time of year to give someone their yearly tip, I'm just saying. So, one of the questions I've gotten on the narcissism side of this channel recently is, in my opinion, which narcissists are the worst? Now, it's a tough question to answer because in a lot of ways, it depends on exactly what you're saying. Like the most violent would be borderlines. Borderlines are unpredictable. They can say and do anything at any moment. They can be set off like that. It's chaos all the time. Overts they'll break you in a short period of time. Like overts don't have patience. They tend to use up their victims, their supply, very quickly. Everything's instant gratification with them. Like I said, whereas borderlines, it's just completely unpredictable chaos, and you never know what they're going to throw at you. Coverts play the long game. And that leads me to the topic of this video. That is why I believe they're the worst, because borderlines don't fool pretty much anybody, or at least not for long. Overts don't fool anybody for long, and again, they tend to, when an overt attaches to somebody, it tends to be short-lived. By short-lived, I mean like 6 months or less. They're, everybody wants a piece of them kind of thing. Coverts will ruin your entire life. All these will do damage. If it's a parent, a borderline can do way more damage because you can't get away from them in your childhood, and they're the most chaotic and violent. But we're talking like in adult life, in like a relationship setting, coverts would be the worst because they play the long game. Like I said, in a subset that I, came up with that other people are using, the subset of covert narcissists I describe as the chess master, and I'll put that video link in the end. But coverts do fool some people, and they can hide, at least at times when they have to, particularly in a work environment. They're very good at putting on that like fake smile, corporate, sleazy politician kind of angle. But behind closed doors, when, they really are them true selves, you see the real monster. And, people that know narcissism or have strong intuition, INFJs too. Especially if INFJs who know about narcissism are really good at spotting them, and they know that, like, a covert narcissist knows when a covert narcissist, the thing they fear the most is to see an INFJ give them the INFJ stare, because they know, like, he's one of those super rare people who can see right through me, and they know how to call me out, and they don't care about like tradition and timing and status quo and all that. Like, they're disruptors by nature. Like, Even, you know what I mean? Like, even if it hurts them to call me out, they're gonna do it out of principle integrity, because that's what drives them, that and unconditional love. But anyway, coverts are masters of disguise, and a true covert narcissist can go a long time before they show their true pathology, their full true self. Like, at first, a covert, especially in the love bombing phase, you'll see bits, glimpses of them, of the true, their I've had a few, their true self. And when you see those glimpses, you'll just think, well, every relationship, there's struggles and fights and all that, and you dismiss it. Because they reveal themselves slowly over time, you dismiss it as, oh, well, this happens after a year and we've been together a while. You know, you dismiss it as normal. Coverts are very good at normalizing abuse. Borderlines can't do that. Like I said, borderlines, they're so chaotic, they're so violent, they're so over the top that you know it's wrong. You know, it's just like, I mean, not so much now, but like when I was growing up in the 90s and 2000s, there was no YouTube. It's like, I know this is messed up, but how do I explain it? Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things like my mother, it's like you had to see it to know what you were dealing with. And even then, like, you know, people knew there's something not right there, but there wasn't, we didn't have terminology for it. You know, it was just like, you know, I mean, of course, her drug addiction didn't help most of the time. You know, and you catch her with just the right amount of drugs in her, and she can be almost normal for a little bit. Catch her in withdrawal, you're in a real problem. Okay. Covert narcissists need you as a prop, and I've said this in other videos. Covert narcissists in particular, and coverts are far more common in men than women. Borderlines are far more common in women than men. There is crossover, but you know what I mean? The majority of male narcissists are coverts, or the majority of cluster B disorder males are covert narcissists. The majority of cluster B disorder females are borderline personality disorder. All right. Covert uses you as a prop to feed their ego. Everything's about them, their self-aggrandizement, everybody thinking that they're the greatest. They're very materialistic. They're very keeping up with the Joneses. Look at me, look what I have. So, as I've said in other videos, but I'll reiterate it quick, they go for empathetic females that are like somewhat naive, pushovers, struggle to say no, and that are, you know, a little like out of their league. Trophy. Because it's all about it's all about them. Like, look what I got, look what I have. And that prop to make them seem tolerable. They want that like sweetheart girl next door. So when they're working their machinations to climb the social ladder or the corporate ladder, they have something that offsets the smacked ass that they come across as. Because deep down, coverts are more self-aware too. They know they don't fool most people. They just have to raise enough plausible deniability that people will tolerate them, at least for a little bit, or they can fool them to think like, well, maybe there's, you know, more to this person that we don't see. There isn't. You know, your instincts are right. Okay, so why they're the worst in their long game. There's a couple factors to that. They use intermittent reinforcement. So there'll be times when a covert will build somebody up, tell somebody they're special, make false promises, use tactics such as breadcrumbing. You know, when you're a victim, like in your relationship with a covert, like you might start to think like, am I just a prop? Is this going anywhere? Am I being used? The answer is yes, but they'll lie for brief periods of time and make you think it's going to become something more, because all narcissists, be it covert, overt, borderline, truly only love themselves. They're not capable of loving anyone but themselves. But they, to an extent, especially coverts, believe that you are lucky that they chose you because they're, you know, they're this messianic figure. So they'll send mixed signals. They'll give you somewhat reinforcement when they feel you slipping away to make you think like, well, you know, like, oh, I've been underappreciative, but I know that, and I'm gonna change, and things are gonna be better for a couple weeks, and then they'll go back to being their true selves. They, unlike borderlines picking their favorite person, do a slow pull into a trauma bond. In this relationship with a covert, you will naturally want freedom from them. to be yourself, yet a quiet voice in your mind will remind you that it would probably not be a good idea, like how they'll react, that they'll pull you back, that they'll freak out. And they build over time this concept, as I've said before, that they will make you think you can't function without them. They will make you think that everything you have and everything you've done in life and how you've progressed as a person is because of their influence. Because remember, they think they're the greatest thing ever. And you're just lucky that they chose you, that they'll make you think you're riding their coattails, when in fact, you're the reason people tolerate the covert. All right, so they'll slow pull you into a trauma bond. I took notes because, been drinking a little bit. Been working on this video all day. Well, not all day, a couple hours. Common themes in the covert's long game. The narcissist scripts the relationship. In other words, your likes, your desires, your wants, your trips, the progress, the way in which the relationship progresses, like when you move in together, if there's an engagement, everything's always on their terms because they know best. They script everything. Who you can talk to, who you can call, they'll check your phone. All that is signs you're with a covert. Brief moments of optimism, all right? Maybe things will be okay after all, or lines like, well, it's on and off happiness. Coverts, unlike borderlines, it's chaos all the time and I can't live without you, and like guilt tripping. Coverts know when to give their mark, their supply, their victim just enough optimism, just enough to make them think things are going to change and get better, or that it's going to go to the next level, just enough so they don't go out the door. They are very good at knowing when someone's slipping away and how to pull them back in. They're very good at hoovering, all right? That positive feeling that I just described cannot be sustained, and mixed messages will soon arise, and the resulting tensions they'll blame on you, particularly if you're associating with people that the covert doesn't approve of, particularly if it's somebody that the covert sees as a threat or a rival. Anything even remotely resembling a love triangle situation. Because, coverts can't, fairly compete. All right. When things get bad, they'll blame you, the victim, that you need to try harder, that you're not doing enough for them, even though in a relationship with a covert, you'll be the one carrying all the emotional baggage. They'll be barely paying attention to you, but they'll be expecting, you to be completely devout and tunnel visioned on them, that your whole existence is about, serving them, building them up, helping them reach your goals. It's their life. You're just along for the ride, and you should be thankful that they chose you, kind of thing. Coverts will minimize your strengths and successes. I've mentioned this already, how anything you achieve or do, they'll say, well, that's because of my influence. You wouldn't have gotten that without me. Or, I got that for you. They do this with gifts too. When they feel you slipping away, they'll give you gifts. In general, coverts are very cheap. Not when it comes to spending money on themselves, expensive cars, clothes, jewelry, what have you. But when it comes to giving you anything, bare minimum most of the time. Unless, again, once in a while when they feel like they gotta do something half decent, they'll do it to make sure you don't slip away and to make you think you're turning a new leaf and the page is turning into a new chapter and things are gonna get better. It's not, they'll make it might look like that for a month tops, but no. All right. They will make you feel that your job is to be the fixer in the relationship. In other words, it's your job to keep the relationship together, because in their mind, they're perfect. They're doing everything right. They know best. And if you're unhappy, it's your fault because you're not doing enough for them. And that'll never change. Understand this. No matter what you do for a covert, it will never, ever, ever be enough. They will always want more. They're like an addict that way, never enough. Always want more. So that is why covert narcissists are, in my opinion, the most dangerous, because they play a long game, because they will use a target, a victim, for as long as they can get away with it. Now, the only upside, and I'll end with this briefly, is they cannot handle confrontation, all right? A borderline will stand in the middle of a room, make a scene, and fight with you. They don't care who sees them, hears them, whatever. They'll just go at you. Believe me, lived it. My mother threw a fucking tantrum anywhere. Covert fears that mask being ripped off the most. If you want to get free from a covert and you're afraid to leave, expose them publicly, particularly like among their work circle. Let the people that they're obsessed with trying to impress and fool see them for who they truly are. And they are, because they are cowards. They will run, they will move out of the state. Like they are cowards, all right? They do not want anyone to see the real them. They are frightened of that. They are, of all cluster Bs, they are most frightened of like a whole room of people being able to see them for who they truly are and to be called out publicly, because they're, when confronted with truth, they are terrible at defending themselves. A bloviated overt will sit there and you know, you can call them out and they'll still tell you how great they are. Like, you know, like good example of like a overt narcissist would be, you know, Howard Stern, all right? That kind of thing. Coverts, they can't handle it. They will run. They will run, all right? So that's how you get free of them. But in my opinion, because of these factors, because of the long game, because of the intermittent reinforcement, because of the love bombing, because they're so good at hoovering and breadcrumbing and gaslighting and other narcissistic tactics, in my mind, they are the worst, because, you know, they do the damage for the longest length of time, and therefore, for that factor, are usually the hardest to break free from, because people with coverts don't want to accept the truth, because that means that they have to accept that they wasted usually years of their life, and they don't want to admit that. They don't want to admit that, you know, a substantial period of their life was wasted, and or that they were fooled for that long, because usually it's not the victim, almost never, it's the victim who realizes a covert's a covert first. It's usually people around them, friends, family. In most cases that I've dealt with coverts, people around the victim have been telling that person to get out for over 6 months. And it can be longer. I've known somewhere it's been over 2 years, because they know how to, you know, hoover someone back in and give them just enough false hope. That is why they are the worst. And that is why they must be exposed. I hope this was helpful. Again, please check out my Patreon. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, as it is free to do so and helps this channel grow and help me reach other people. And remember, no, you don't need the narcissist. The narcissist needs you for supply. They can't survive without you, because without you, they have no trophy, they have no prop, they have no cover. And you can leave whenever you want. Seek your free will, seek your empowerment. Hail Lilith.